It's amazing. Especially when I said, will you ask me, do you know any songs? And, I didn't even occur to me, but this is Zacchaeus. Yeah, it's like, I just totally did. It's like, okay. Okay. There's a lot of new faces and a lot of familiar faces I've seen here. For those who don't know me, my name is Yves. It's Yves, it's spelled with Y-V-E-S. It's not E-V-E. Contrary to a lot of people who think that I'm a female, but I'm not a female. My name is Yves, Y-V-E-S. Okay, I was born in Montreal, so that's the difference here. Okay. Okay. Hope everyone's doing well. And I think the last time I saw you was at the baptism in Lake Ontario. That's about maybe a month or a few weeks ago. Okay. You know. So today there's a lot of reality shows. And one of the popular reality shows is this transformation. Just like how Fuller Life Church transformed. So when I came in here, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Is this the right place? And I was like, wow. And then I was like, wow, this is so different now. Because it used to be right there. Now it's right here. The kitchen's down there. It used to be here and everything. So it's like a huge transformation. And today, there's a lot of this reality shows that transforms, okay? Properties, cars, people themselves, from how they look before or how they were before, transforming into something new. And that's a lot of reality shows today. And they're quite popular and everything. Well, today's message is someone that you know, Zacchaeus. And as we sang the song, little kids know Zacchaeus as a little short, little wee little person. Okay, someone who just climbed on a tree to look at Jesus. And that's what Zacchaeus was. As little kids, there's a song also and everything. So today's message, okay, is someone who's transformed. Yes, you all heard of it and everything. And the story of Zacchaeus is only in the book of Luke in the entire Bible. Only in Luke and everything. So let me read it. You can just follow along. I got the verses on there. So Luke chapter 19, verse 1 to 10. And this is on the NIV version. So it says, Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was. But because he was short, he could not see over the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree to see him. Since Jesus was coming that way, when Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay in your house today. So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mutter, he has gone to be the guest of a sinner. But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, look, Lord, here and now I give half my possessions to the poor. And if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount. Jesus said to him, today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. A little bit chopped there. So today I'm a little bit different. I'm going to bring out 3 points that we could learn from Zacchaeus. Okay, the 3 points I'm going to talk about Zacchaeus. So Zacchaeus was shunned. Okay, and I'm just going to give a definition of what shun means. Shun means persistently being avoided, persistently being ignored, persistently being rejected. Zacchaeus was searching. He was searching. Zacchaeus was searching. And lastly, the final point I want to bring out here is Zacchaeus was saved. Zacchaeus was saved. So Zacchaeus was shunned. Zacchaeus was searching. Zacchaeus was saved. Now, think back when we are young, and you're fairly very young here, okay? In relation to me, you're very young. Think back when you were young, okay? How was it like growing up? I do a lot of walking here, so. How was it like growing up? Okay. We all come from different backgrounds. We all come from different backgrounds. We all come from different, environments. Culturally, could be a bit different. How was the neighborhood that you grew up in? We have friends, we have different friends, different families and everything. So, when you were growing up, was it pleasant or was it painful? Think about that. Was it pleasant? Was it painful? Now, the question I want to ask you is, have you ever been rejected, ignored by your friends or family? Have you ever felt left out? Have you ever felt alone, even though you're in a crowd? Have you ever felt alone in a crowd? Yes, I guess in one way or another, we have felt being rejected, unaccepted, separated from our friends, separated from family and friends. And we've been through all this. And to be honest, it's not a good feeling. It's not a good experience to go through. Over the years, I've been coming to FLC and I've opened my life to you. Okay, I'm being very transparent here. Okay, and I share my life stories with you. Well, no, the bottom line is, I'm no different from anyone you. We're exactly the same. I've gone through pain. I've gone through pains in my life, and I'll share with you. I've gone through pleasures in my life, and I'll share with you. Okay, so as you all know, some of you might not know, I'm a Canadian-born Chinese, and I was born in Montreal. Okay, and both my parents came from China. Okay, and I grew up in an area in Montreal where Chinese people were non-existent. Okay, so my brother and I were the only two Chinese in the entire school of 2,000. Okay, it's hard to believe. Okay, I was born in an area that was predominantly Greek, Italian mix. Okay, so we were the only two Chinese family in the entire neighborhood. Let's think about it. Okay, you're the only two Chinese family in the entire Markham. And Markham is pretty big. So the only two Chinese families back then. Okay, I'm dating myself back then. Okay, so being a minority, growing up being a minority in a minority area was tough. Okay, it was tough. I'll be honest with you, it was tough. Okay, we were different. Okay, we were separated. We were kind of not accepted by others. Okay, and that's how I felt when I grew up. And when I grew up in this area, we were like very different. Okay, and I remember being Chinese, we're physically bullied. Okay, you see this big kids, they're like European and the size, and us little Asian kids, so scrawny, a little small. Little kid. I was physically bullied as a kid. And I'll be honest, I was physically bullied. And I remember one day going home from school, and kids would just throw snowballs at us. Montreal is famous for snow. They'd throw snowballs at us, and they would mock us and call us names. They say, "You go back to where you came from." I was like, "Huh? I was born here. Where am I going?" Seriously, right? Okay? So, and I remember in school, we had team sports. Why they never pick me? Why would you want to pick an Asian kid who's so scrawny? That means that, hey, if I pick this Asian kid, we're going to lose anyway, so why pick him? So we never get picked. So I was on the bench, and I'll be honest with you, I was sat on the bench and everything, right? So let me ask you, would your friends ever reject you? Would your friends ever ignore you? Or even shun you? Yeah, of course. There would be times when you grow up, friends would say, they would ignore you or shun you and just completely, break the relationship. It is unheard of, right? Well, we think about it. How about your parents? Would your parents ever reject their kids? You look at Pastor Ian. Would he ever reject his kids? Shun his kids forever? Well, my father is Chinese. Okay, and I think in a lot of cultures, especially in the Chinese culture, having a son is like, wow, it's a big thing, right? Maybe for those, okay, maybe I'm a little bit, I've been here for a while. For Chinese to have a son is a big thing. To carry on the Chinese name or something, the family name, it's a big thing for Chinese people, okay? Now, even though my father was Chinese, he hated sons. The truth is, he didn't like sons. Never had a relationship with my dad. He hated it. My mom said he only touched us once in his whole life. He didn't like sons. So I know what does it mean to be shunned by society, by friends, and by your own family, my own father. Sad to say, but that's reality in me. So today's message is about Zacchaeus. Well, Zacchaeus was someone who experienced being rejected, who experienced being shunned by his own people. Okay? Unaccepted, rejected by his own people. But eventually, he found salvation. So Zacchaeus was shunned. So let's quickly go some of the verses there. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. Now, back then in the Bible times, Jericho was a gateway city to Canaan. Okay? When the Israelites came and wanted to go to the promised land, they have to go through Jericho. And Jericho was a thriving city, the commercial hub back then. And what does Luke continue to say in verse 2? A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. See, Luke didn't say just Zacchaeus. He said Zacchaeus, the chief, let's get this right, chief tax collector, and was wealthy, super rich and everything. You see, Zacchaeus and other tax collectors were Jewish themselves, but the Jewish people hated them. Let's don't be friends with that tax collector. Why? Because they would collect taxes for the Romans. And guess what? The Romans were the one who are oppressing them. Just go figure. They're the one who's oppressing the Jewish. And these tax collectors, who are Jewish themselves, would collect taxes. They would charge more than what's necessary. So most likely, Zacchaeus would use extortion, embezzle monies from the poor, okay, from the elderly. So they will have more money. They will give it to the other tax collector. So they kept the extra to every Jew, to every Jewish person. I'm just thinking about that. That's a lot of money. You collect here and here and here, a few thousand, you get super rich. See, for the Jewish people, he was considered very corrupt, a traitor, and a robber to the Jews. Now, just think of it, maybe we can make a guess here, that Zacchaeus had no friends, except his other fellow tax collectors. He was hated. He was shunned, separated, not accepted by his own Jewish community. You see, I'm not talking about here about you being a tax collector. I don't think anyone is a tax collector. I'm not here talking to you are oppressing or extorting money or embezzling money. But I'm going to ask you this question. Let me ask you, have you ever did something or say something and your friends and family did not agree? And as a result, you were rejected, separated, ignored by your friends and family. And you were left alone all by yourself. Maybe you went against the advice of your friends and family. Don't take that job. Don't take that job. And how about the classic here? Don't go with that guy. Don't go with that girl. I'm telling you, don't do it. Don't do it. And you didn't listen to advice. And your families or friends would just say, okay, if you do that, I'm not talking to you. Just don't be friends. Sometimes it just takes one word or one action to break a relationship. It's not easy. Well, let me just show you a story about my own personal life here and everything. And I remember it vividly as a child. My mom told me this story. Why my brother and I have never met my aunt, my dad's younger sister. Why we have never met my aunt, okay, my dad's younger sister. That time she lived in Ottawa. And Ottawa to Montreal was just 2 hours away, less than 2 hours away. Why? So the story goes, my mom tells me that when my mom and dad were dating and wanted to get married, my aunt did not agree. Whatever reason, up to this day, I don't know. But somehow my aunt did not agree with the marriage. Well, guess what? The marriage happened. I exist now, okay? So I exist now. So my brother and I were born. By the way, we're twins, okay? So we were born and everything. So my mom said, oh my goodness, 2 twin sons, woohoo! You know, she was so happy. Said, oh, maybe I should just tell my aunt. You know, but there's good news that, you know, maybe she'll be happy. Maybe the relationship will be restored and everything, okay, and everything. So, and I said very vividly for my mom, and that she told my aunt that, oh, I gave birth to 2 sons and everything, and hopefully, everything will be back to normal and everything. So a few weeks later, guess what? My aunt sent a baby gift, a package. Oh, baby gift. Ooh, nice baby gift. So we get the baby gift. My mom told me vividly, she unwrapped it, removed the tape and everything. As she opened it, to her surprise, it was 2 pink dresses. Immediately, my mom knew that this was a message from my aunt of defiance, of disagreement, of disapproval of her marriage and her kids. From that day onwards, my mom has never contacted my aunt from that day onwards. Even though she lives 2 hours away, I never met my aunt. Ever since then, she has already passed away. Never met my aunt. Okay, 2 pink dresses. Well, there's good news behind the story. Okay, I will continue afterwards. So I'll leave you in a cliffhanger here. Okay, it's just like Zacchaeus. There's good news after that, right? So, Zacchaeus was searching. So there is it. Zacchaeus is searching now. What is he searching for? So we know that Zacchaeus was shunned and everything. Zacchaeus is searching. Well, for those who know, back in 2017, the Invictus Game was held in Toronto. Anybody heard of the Invictus Games? Oh, perfect. One person. Okay. Okay, guys, yeah. Invictus Games was held in Toronto. And for those who don't know what the Invictus Games is, these are athletic games for physically wounded military veterans. Okay, when they went to combat or went to war, they lost a limb, they were physically wounded, handicapped. So these games have helped them to restore them, and a lot of them will maybe qualify for the Paralympics, which is held last month in Paris, as you know. Okay, this is it. So one day, I was walking, as usual I do, but walking into a venue, into this area in the Invictus Games. And I noticed there's a huge crowd outside this venue, this area. I want to get in there. And I couldn't. It's like, see, there's so much people lining up, and paparazzis, fans, reporters, and just the crowd there. Surrounded, barricaded, I couldn't get in. So the first thing came to mind is, whoa, there must be someone inside that building. Inside that venue, someone of significance. Someone must be a celebrity. Ooh, I was kind of excited, and everything. And so I was blocked. I couldn't get through the crowd because security was really tight back then. Okay, but definitely I knew that somebody of significance was inside that building. So since I couldn't walk in, I just dawned on me. I guess, wait a minute. I was volunteering at the Invictus Games. So I had this pass that I just put on. And guess what, man? Front of the line access. So I said, excuse me. And just walk through the crowd. Excuse me. And I went right into the venue, into this area. Okay, now I go up there. And guess who I see? It was no other than Prince Harry himself. Okay. Prince Harry himself. So when I went up there, because I had the privilege to access this VIP place, I walk up there and Prince Harry, it's like, from me to down there, it's like 3 meters away. Nobody in sight. Of course, his security guards are there. And he was just chatting with his British, coaches and British athletes and everything. No, I didn't invite him to my house for tea. Or did he invite me to Buckingham Palace? Hey, would you like to come for tea? No. Okay, he didn't invite me to tea to the Buckingham Palace. Okay, but that's the closest I ever came to royalty. It's 3 meters away. It's right there, and line of sight right there. Okay, so let's carry on with the Bible verse there. Okay, so he wanted to see who Jesus was, but because he was too short, he couldn't see over the crowd. This is Zacchaeus. I can't see anybody. I'm too short. Now, in other translations here, in other paraphrase translation, it says, he wanted desperately to see Jesus. Interesting. Not here in NIV. In the Living Bible, it says, he wanted desperately to see Jesus. See, therefore, Zacchaeus already heard of Jesus and know of Jesus. But now it's an opportunity to see him face to face, up close and personal. When I ask you this question, in our lives, we know and heard of Jesus. Yes. But do you want to see him face to face today? Do you want to see Jesus? It's just like when a student goes to see their teachers or professors, they need help. They need help with their homework or with their assignments or something. Or when an employee goes to see their managers, their boss, they want something. They need some help with something. But do we desperately want to see Jesus when something in our life is not right? Do we or do we not? You see, here, Zacchaeus wanted desperately to see Jesus. Why? Like we know that he was super rich, he was super wealthy. Okay? But wait a minute, was it his conscience? Was his type of work? Was his cheating, embezzlement? Was something that was tugging in his heart? There's a hole, there's an emptiness in his heart. Obviously, Zacchaeus knew who Jesus was. Otherwise, why would he want to see Jesus in the first place? So when Zacchaeus wanted to see Jesus, there was a problem because he was short and there was a crowd. And that prevented him. A challenge. I can't see Jesus, I'm too short, everything. Right? Are there setbacks or challenges in our lives that's preventing us to see Jesus? See, just like the crowd outside the Invictus game in this venue, they wanted to see Prince Charles, but they were not able to. But guess what? I overcome that challenge. I overcome this setback. I had this pass that I'm able to go see Prince Charles. Okay? That was it. That was the only thing. I overcome this challenge. I overcome this setback. Okay? Look into our personal lives. Maybe we cannot give up a certain lifestyle. Or maybe we are just too comfortable where we are now. We don't want to change. We want to see Jesus, but hey, there's challenges we have in our lives, there's setbacks, but we just don't want to. We can say, sorry, Jesus. Hey, next time, Jesus. I'm just not ready yet. Sorry, Jesus. I'm busy now. Or I just need a little bit more time, everything. What's preventing us from seeing Jesus today, face to face? So what did Zacchaeus do? So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree to see Jesus, since Jesus was coming that way. So guess what? Just imagine, he climbed a tree. Just imagine a grown man climbing a tree, okay? Back then, even today, it's very undignified for a grown man to climb a tree. So just put into kind of perspective. Imagine our Prime Minister Trudeau climbing on a tree to look at Pastor Ian as he comes by. It's kind of unheard of, right? That's the religion, that's how it is. A grown man here climbed on a sycamore tree to look at Jesus. Okay? You see, Zacchaeus was searching. What was he searching for? We know that he was super rich. Okay? What does he want? What does he need? What does Zacchaeus want? Zacchaeus knew exactly what Jesus could offer. It wasn't money, fame, or status. It was something else. Somehow, we too are searching in our hearts. We're searching for something. Okay, there's an emptiness or a hole in our hearts. As we read today's passage, money, fame, status cannot fill that emptiness, cannot fill the hole in our hearts. Well, what I heard today, a few weeks ago, that today China is very different than 40 years ago when I visited. 40 years ago. Okay, people are more well off. You just look at the huge modernization of China, the infrastructure, how much has progressed over the past 40 years, okay? But there's a sickness that's afflicting a lot of Chinese people today in China, okay? And they're afflicting a lot of successful people, afflicting a lot of successful people with high, good education, people who've been very successful in their lives. And it's called the empty heart sickness. Okay? And this professor writes, saying that feeling of loneliness, feeling of meaningless, fail to find their own meaning in life. People don't know what the meaning of life is, other than money, status, or fame. Well, the answer was in today's message, okay, is in verse 9 and 10. Jesus said, today salvation has come to this house because this man too is the son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. In 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 18 and 19 it says, for you know that I was not with perishable things, such as silver or gold, that you were redeemed from the empty way of life, handed down to you from your ancestors, but with the precious blood of Christ, a lamb without blemish and defects. Is your heart filled with Jesus, or is it still empty? Is your heart filled with Jesus, or is it still empty? Well, after graduation, my twin brother moved to Ottawa. He found a job there in Ottawa, and he settled down there and everything. And my brother tells me one day he attended this event in this church. Okay, and after the event, like any Chinese church, there's a lunch. There's a lunch. So my brother went and says, okay, we'll go for lunch. It's no big deal. Just go for lunch. And he brought his food, and he sat next to this person. And as they were just chatting and everything, I said, interesting. This person is talking to me and everything. We're just chatting and everything. And this person continued to ask, and they found out, oh, what's the same last names? Oh, what's the chance of that? And then this person asked my brother, by the way, what is your father's Chinese name? Well, obviously my brother would say, oh, my father's Chinese name is so-and-so. And this person stopped, looked at my brother, and started to weep. I am your older brother's. You are my older brother's son. I am your aunt. For 25 years, my aunt finally met one of her nephews that she has never met since birth. It's like God at work here. So, who does Zacchaeus finally meet? Jesus. Zacchaeus was saved. Zacchaeus was saved. So when Zacchaeus climbed on the sycamore fig tree to see Jesus, there's a significance here. Okay? In the paraphrase translation, when Jesus came by, he looked up at Zacchaeus. What does it say here? Zacchaeus sees you, opens our eyes. Jesus sees Zacchaeus, not Zacchaeus, a tax collector. Zacchaeus. Jesus sees you, period, nothing else. Sees you only. Jesus sees us, but do we see Jesus? We need to open our eyes to see Jesus. And then continue on. And called him by name. Zacchaeus, he said, quick, come down. Jesus calls you. Open our ears. Jesus calls Zacchaeus by name, signifying a personal relationship. See, Jesus knows who we are. Jesus knows our name. He knows exactly who we are. Okay? Jesus asked Zacchaeus to come down immediately. When Jesus calls us, do we react? Are we listening, first of all? Do we listen and act immediately? Or do we just procrastinate? Oh, sorry, Jesus. Sorry, what are you saying again? Like, do we do that? Do we open our ears and listen to Jesus when he speaks? He said, quick, come down, for I'm going to be a guest. Open our hearts. Jesus offers Zacchaeus, hey, guess what? I'm coming to be a guest in your house. From now onwards, open our hearts to welcome him. Not half-heartedly, but wholeheartedly. It means to believe in Jesus' words, obey what he has told us to do, and know his will for us. Not tomorrow, but today. Therefore, don't close or harden our hearts. Open our hearts to Jesus today. Jesus offers his saving grace. His gift is free. The invitation is today. For I'm going to be a guest in your home today. Jesus stays with us. Open our lives. Jesus will stay with Zacchaeus. When Jesus said, I must stay in your home, it's kind of symbolic. That means Jesus will stay with us forever. Okay? He's part of our lives. What we speak, what we think, what we do. Jesus will always be part of our lives. You see, when someone stays in your house, in your home, you mean you welcome them into your home. Otherwise, why would they be invited in the first place? You don't want them to come in, right? See, when you have guests, friends, or even parents come into your home and everything, the first thing you do is to clean up your house. That's obvious. Just clean up your house and everything. You see, Zacchaeus had the decision, had a choice to say, sorry, Jesus, my house is a mess. Maybe next time, you know. Oh, not today. I was kind of busy. But guess what? Zacchaeus did it immediately. Okay. Therefore, when Jesus offers to stay, let us clean our own house first and prepare him to welcome him in. Open our lives to follow Jesus. When Jesus stays with us, he stays forever. Let's look at the remaining verses here. So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. Okay, no hesitation, no and, ifs, or but. Okay, Zacchaeus welcomed Jesus in immediately. But let's look at what the crowd said, the crowd's reaction. All the people saw this and began to mutter, he has gone to be the guest of a sinner. Wow. When we open our lives, things change. When we open our lives to Jesus, our life changes. Now there'll be family, friends, co-workers, or neighbors that will say and go against us. They open our lives to Jesus contrary to what the world expects, to what the world thinks. You just look at Zacchaeus, what he says in verse 8. But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, look, Lord, here and now I give half my possessions to the poor. And if I've cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount. Wow, can you imagine other tax collectors says, what, are you crazy? Are you mad to give all what you have done now to give the money up? You must be crazy. You're giving up all this. When you become a Christian, maybe your family, your friends might not understand why. But this is what Jesus commands us to do. Our lives change when we follow Jesus. Our minds change. Our actions change. We do things differently what the world expects. So if we are saved, is our eyes open to Jesus? Is our ears listening to Jesus? Is our hearts open to accept him? And is our life open and change to follow Jesus and do what he wants us to do? Well, in conclusion, what we can learn from Zacchaeus here? We learned that Zacchaeus was shunned. Zacchaeus was searching. Zacchaeus was saved. In our lives, we too were shunned and separated from because of what we did before we met Jesus, before we accepted Christ. There's an emptiness in our lives that the world cannot fill. We search for something. We search and search to fill the emptiness in our lives. We search for the meaning of our lives until one day we heard about the good news of Jesus. Who is this Jesus? We want to know more. The more we know about Jesus, we realize that only Jesus can fill this emptiness in our hearts. We are truly saved when we accept Jesus as our Lord and Savior. Then we can say our eyes are now open to see Jesus. Our ears are open to listen to him. Our hearts are open to accept him in our lives. And our lives is open to let Jesus change it for his glory. Then we can say we are saved. Let us pray. Dear God, we thank you, Lord, for this time that we could come and know more about your word, Lord. Lord, in our lives, there are a lot of challenges, setbacks in our lives that's preventing us to see you, Lord. I just pray, Lord, that you just guide us, Lord, to help us to see these challenges and setbacks and help us to overcome them. That we get to know more about you, Lord. Open our eyes that we can see you, Lord, because you are always there. Open our ears to listen to you, because, Lord, you're always speaking to us. Open our hearts, Lord, that we can always welcome you in. And change our life, Lord, that truly you be with us, no matter where, when, what we do. Our lives will be changed. And then we can say, we are saved.